the moment you decide to quit without actually planning it through. Let's talk about it. Roll it. Welcome back to another video where we are going to be exploring this whole idea about quitting and how quitting can be good and bad, but it can also be easy or very hard. There's a right way and a hard way. I think I keep going, but let's move on. Sometimes we decide to quit because we just need to quit. We need to get out of there and we think there's something more. And then sometimes there's moments where you go, I want to quit, and you keep saying it for many months, if not years. You never do, and then one day you decide, hey, I'm going to quit. There's ways to quit, and I'm going to explore these over the next series of videos because a lot of people ask me these kinds of questions, and it doesn't just apply to jobs, it applies to business, it applies to careers, and of course schooling, and most importantly relationships. You know, that relationship that you want to end but you never do, you never call it quits. It's all similar. Primarily we need to understand that quitting, or lack of quitting rather, all revolves around fear. We have a fear looming, and it causes us to do either non-rash things and, you know, back off and not really pursue that quit, or irrational thinking takes over and boom, you quit and you're out the door, not knowing the next steps that are going to occur to provide for your security and well-being, because at the end of the day we need this. The most secure way to make a change is always to be prepared to have some form of income coming in, and if we don't plan for that, well, logically we're going to suffer, and that anxiety will kick in. We won't know what to do, and we won't be making the right decisions at the right time. A lot of the times people will go through this wondering, what did I do? Why did I just quit if they haven't planned it out? And sometimes people will plan or plan too much, and in that process they fail to execute because fear takes over and they ask themselves, is this worth it? Again, emotions are at the heart of this. It's emotional understanding. Where are you at and how much are the emotions taking over, where logic should be in control. And if we can't really put both into a balance, well, we end up making the wrong decisions. In this case of this individual, stupid decisions. That quick, ugly quit. Hi Nikos, I quit my job 3 months ago. I haven't found another job. I'm struggling financially. What would you tell someone to help them who was so stupid? Well, look, you're not stupid. You acted out of a moment. And whatever moment was happening then is what the moment wanted you to do, what you wanted to do in that moment. It's just, the emotions were there. Don't call yourself stupid. There's no need. Based on what you did, you need to really put this into perspective. You're calling yourself stupid. And because you're calling yourself stupid, no matter what happened and why you did it, and that narrative that was then versus now, well, you're putting a negative influence on the whole next few moves that you need to make. And in this process, you're suffering. And when you're in this emotional state, well, you tend to make the wrong decisions when you should be making the right ones. And then you're going to lead yourself into more wrong decisions, which just leads you down the path of not getting out of this rut you're in. I have been there. I have felt stupid. I quit and I left. I quit and I left, and I was like, you know what, I don't need this. And I didn't plan it, and I just went, and then time went by and I wasn't finding a job and I was panicking. And as I panicked, well, what do you think happened? I couldn't get my head in that right spot to get moving in that right direction. This is critical to understand with the talk of being negative with yourself. That narrative is a narrative that existed at that moment and now has changed to the narrative you are now because you can't find anything. It doesn't help you at all. First things first, how do you address your current situation? And this is the reality. You need to look at this in this moment and say to yourself, all right, what happened is back there. So take this as a grain of salt, as they would say, and be really, really, really serious with yourself, with serious talk, and tell yourself, I did what I did. I may have been stupid in that moment, but at the moment I did what I had to do, and it was critical I do it. That's why I did it. I might have lost my cool, and maybe that's where this negative emotion is coming from, or maybe because right now you're financially suffering. And because you're financially suffering, well, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to look back and be negative about it. It's the same thing when I tell people, hey, you know, I leave the project if the project isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, and then 4 months later they haven't found another project and they're going, why did I leave that project? What was the best thing for you to do? But don't worry, a project's coming. You would have been suffering still. And then what do? They go look to see if that project's actually moving, and it's not. And then they calm themselves down again. And simply put, you always look at this whole thing from the grass is always greener on the other side, and it ain't. Sometimes it is, but normally, or more often than not, it's not. Secondly, once you get your emotions in check, write down everything that you need right now. Write everything down. So I would make a list immediately of everything you need right now. And you would look at that number, and that number would represent something very important, and that's survival number. So this isn't like, you know, your TV, your cable, your extracurriculars, and all. This is all the bare minimums, all your bills that you have to pay no matter what. Now, you put all those down and you say to yourself, how much money do I actually need? And I'm assuming it would be maybe 1,000, max 2,000, okay? All the other stuff, cut them. You're gonna cut them for a bit. Tough luck, okay? Secondly, get rid of your mindset of thinking about cards. No more credit cards. You know, you're gonna use them only when needed. You're gonna, you know, like at this point, you should, you know, if you're really hurting, you know, crackers, man, crackers, and like just stick to like peanut butter and stuff, like whatever's cheap. That's what you're gonna do, and drink lots of water, okay? And for like 3 weeks, you'll feel great. Don't worry. Get some fruit in you too, some vegetables, and you'll be fine. No more eating out. No more any of that. And now really put your perspective down. I've cut all my expenses. I was exaggerating on the food part, so you can eat a little bit more, but I'm saying cut all your food. Because food is a big expense, especially if you're eating out all the time. And this is what I always go to. It's just, you can't be sitting there spending money on things you can't afford right now. Next, look at this number that you have, and you're gonna say to yourself, I'm gonna go find myself a part-time job. That's simple. You can get a part-time job anywhere. It is not hard to get a part-time job. Fix up your resume, go out, get a part-time job. Part-time, just part-time. I'm assuming from the email you sent me, there's a little bit more in there. It's a career that you were in, so you're gonna want to go back into that career. You just haven't been able to find a job there. Go get a part-time job. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you feel like, hey, I'm worth more. You know, put ego aside. Ego does not need to play right now with your psyche. What it is doing is causing these emotions for you. It's all fear-based. What you need to do is a part-time job to pay the bare minimum. Then I want you to go on LinkedIn, and I want you to start searching for all the people you can introduce yourself to. Once you take care of that immediate need of money, you can start planning out to get into a position that is more suited, not in that part-time job, but rather in your field. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at it from a perspective of where can I move to. From what I understand from your email, you were in the finance, and the finance, like seriously, if I were in finance right now and I needed a job, say I had any kind of business degree, I would say, you know, accounting, or say financial planner, or whatever. I would immediately go to the bank and become a teller. Once you're in the bank as a teller, now you're gonna stay there for about 3 to 6 months, and hey, there's all these jobs popping up. I used to work in the financial sector, and this is what occurred. There'd be all these jobs. You would do a request for your manager to get into head office, and off you go. You get into something maybe you don't like and get moving. Simple. Now, while on LinkedIn, you're doing all this perusing, you're finding all these individuals, you're going to connect with them. And basically, you're not asking for a job. You're asking, hey, I see what you did to get to where you are. Can I get some advice? And then you get on the phone with them, or you connect with them through email, and you say, this is what I have. I really love the company you're working for. How do I get moving in the direction to a similar company? And you get their input. You ask them what networking events do they go to, where can you meet more people, and you also ask them to review your resume. You're building connections here, and yes, not every connection will do a lot for you, but there's always that 1, 2, or 3, and all of a sudden your life changes. And it might not be right now, but say you went and got that banking job after you do your part-time for maybe a month or two, and you finally get into the banking, and you have that teller job, and you finally get into the head office, and somebody calls you from a year ago, and they go, you know what, we got a great job here, and you can get into the 80s and 90s. Life changes overnight, just like that. So take it for what it's worth right now. You are surviving, and yes, this is great that, you know, you are in this mindset and this opportunity to, you know, feel negative. It's great. It's great, but you gotta stop it. That was sarcasm. You gotta stop it. You gotta look at what do you need to do right now to survive. And for those of you who are in this situation and you have kids, think of the kids. You know, I go through this every day with somebody. They have kids and they quit the job, and I'm like, what were you thinking? Well, I thought unemployment and this and that. Okay, great. Go get a part-time job. There are jobs out there. There are. If I had nothing right now, I know I could go find a job part-time, and yes, it would hit my ego very, very hard. But I would still go do it because I gotta survive. Ego aside. Lastly, I want to say this very, very, very important aspect. Your emotions are dictating your right and wrong decisions right now. And I'm 100% sure if you weren't feeling that stupid that we started this video with, I'm pretty sure you would have went out and gotten a job by now. You would have done all the things you know how to do. You would have went out to network, you would have went out to meet people, and you would have gotten a job by now. Emotions are killer. They control our ability to see opportunities. There's opportunities everywhere. And a lot of the time what we need to do is just let go of the ego and focus on being that person down the road we need to be in order to achieve right now. My name is Nikos Rentas. This is mentorsapproach.com. Hit that like button if you like what you see. Of course, hit the subscribe button to get your daily motivational idea to get you moving in the right direction. And of course, leave your comment below. Leave your story. Have you been here? What have you done? And of course, what are the things that you would do different? Because who knows, somebody might be reading this story and you might help change a life.